Hello and welcome to the JCN Clinic Podcast Show. I'm Jessica.
I'm Carissa.
And I'm a bit excited to have Carissa on the podcast today because I feel like it's actually been a few in between with the other girls. And I'm like, oh, it's the OG.
The OGs are back. The OGs are back, guys.
Yeah, all is right in the world.
All is right. I was actually thinking this morning too, it's probably going to be a bit patchy with us over the next 2 months as well, isn't it? Because I feel like you're away in July. I'm up north in August, which I actually have to tell you. I'm telling you that right now. I'm still working, but I just don't know what the internet will be like. So we'll have to wing the August podcast and see. Yeah, anyway. So the OGs are here today, and that's what matters.
That's it. So we're going to talk today about why your health might be plateauing alongside the concept of what we call progress blocks. I've just come up with that term in the last 24 hours when I was emailing Carissa about this.
Yeah.
What this is in reference to, and we deal with this a lot in the clinic, and sometimes it's with our own clients, and sometimes it's with clients that come along new and are in this space. So essentially, you just feel like you are just in a rut. Your health is just stuck, and you may have made progress to a certain point, but you are just hitting the wall. Or you could be someone that just feels like you just can't ever get ahead. You've like tried what you feel like is everything and you're just really stuck. So I thought this was a nice meaty topic that, again, as always for us is a little bit topical because we've been chatting just amongst ourselves as always about some of our clients, and it was just on the top of my mind. So we're going to dive into this one, and hopefully you guys will get some nice pearls of wisdom from it that you can apply if you feel like this relates to you. So I feel like that explains, to start with, what we're talking about. Is there anything that I'm missing there, do you think?
I think so. No, not at all. I've definitely got something I want to add, but I don't want to lead with it because it'll confuse what the topic's actually about. So.
Oh, okay. Something up the sleeve.
It's got something up my sleeve.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just dive straight in. So the first area we wanted to talk about, and this is something that's come up in multiple other podcasts, is not treating the actual underlying cause itself and being stuck treating the symptoms. So I'd like to think that this is something at the clinic that we don't get stuck in because this is what we're all about. Like often when a new client comes in, this is sort of the spiel I'll give them about this is exactly what we don't do. So in saying that, maybe at times it can happen where you do feel like as a practitioner, you're missing something as far as what that underlying cause is, and you have to dive a little deeper. But generally what we see, I would say more in the majority, is that clients that come to us who are stuck here. So they've been over time in a place where they're using diet and supplements in particular, maybe some other areas, but usually it's between diet and supplements, to try and keep them at a certain level of health. And really, when we look at it through our lens, what they're really doing is treating the symptoms. I think of that, what's it called? It's like a board game. Is it Hungry Hippo? Yeah, where I think it's called Hungry Hippo, where like you have the hippo just go and shoot out and it like eats the marbles that are in the middle of the board game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know the board. I've never played, but I know the one. Yeah.
I almost think about this. It's just like the marbles are the symptoms, and it's just like the hippos are like, deal with that. Deal with that.
Yeah.
So it's almost like slap this on this, slap this on this. And people can get stuck doing this on their own. Like that's really common, and they'll come to us where they've been trying to manage it on their own. But unfortunately, it can happen in a practitioner setting too, where a practitioner may be treating things from a symptom level and not really digging in and treating the underlying cause. Not that they're doing that on purpose. I'm sure they're not that evil and vindictive. It's coming from a place like that. It's just can be more of maybe a misunderstanding. And often when these types of people may present to us at the clinic, the general stereotype is they're taking a shitload of supplements is not always, but a lot of the time there'll be a lot of supplements, which is a real red flag as far as that symptom control, as opposed to like, okay, what is actually driving this deeper? So yeah, that's sort of my sort of first sort of riff on that. What would you like to add?
Yeah, definitely. I think I call it micromanaging, like your health.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, that's what I call it with my clients.
Nice.
So when I've got someone that comes in, thank you. When I've got someone that comes in and they're like, well, I take this for this and I take this for this and this for that, blah, blah, blah. But I just don't, might not be feeling that great or my energy's really low. I call it, well, you're just sort of like micromanaging. Or I think of it with sometimes more those more complex health situations, like even if someone's been dealing with really chronic SIBO or something like that going on, or some sort of gut issues, and they're basically micromanaging it, but they're not really. Okay, so maybe they don't even know they've got SIBO, or don't even know they've got, whatever else going on in their microbiome, and what they're doing is micromanaging it with diet and supplements. So they're like, oh, well, I don't need any of these foods. I don't need any of these foods, and I feel good. And these are all the supplements I have to take. But if I don't take them, I'm not okay. So, and that's like, again, it's no one's fault. I think genuinely people are trying to do the best to look after their health. And that's what I say to my clients, like, you haven't done anything wrong. We just don't want you to stay here. Like this is, there's so much more. Yeah. When you get in and treat the underlying cause, like if we're talking about gut stuff and actually get in and do a proper functional test and have a look, you can get out of that sort of micromanaging space. I think the thing that I did want to say that I was going to say at the start, but I didn't want to confuse it. And this is when we're talking about plateauing as well, is this is also a space where I have a conversation with clients that are on a healing journey. I don't really like using that word, but they're on a journey with us as a practitioner or with another practitioner. Like if you've got a good practitioner, and you're on a trajectory of healing, it might be your gut, your hormones, working through a process with a practitioner. There is going to be plateaus, and I think it's like not confusing and I actually had this conversation with a client this week, and that's why I thought it's worth bringing up as well. It's understanding the difference between micromanaging symptoms and not treating the root cause, or just plateauing and being stuck in a cycle, versus a plateau that can happen just as part of a general health trajectory. And the difference is if you have a bit of a plateau as part of a general, health trajectory when you're working with someone, that's okay. And what that might look like is, you have been doing some work with your gut, treating some symptoms, working with some supplements, working with some dietary stuff, and then you've got a clear-cut plan. Usually most practitioners, when they're working with their clients, like I know we do this in the clinic, we've got a pretty clear-cut plan in our mind of how we're going to move you through the process. Now, that plan is always up for debate and things change, and we understand that. But what I find with some of my very complex clients is when they come to me, they've been feeling so rubbish for so long, and they've just been micromanaging their symptoms. And then we do a bit of work and they go ahead leaps and bounds. Now, that's great. That's awesome. But the expectation then is that they will keep going ahead in those leaps and bounds. And that sometimes I think, well, I know to be true, is sometimes not realistic. It's you'll get like this little accelerated bit of healing, and then it might slow down. And that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad plateau. That's just, we've done a bulk of work. We've, worked out something for your gut or your space. And, and we've kind of got you, like if you've been sitting, in the A space, we've got you to D. You're not at Z yet, and that's fine. But then the stretch in D might be a bit slower than the stretch from A to D, and that's okay. So that's not a bad plateau, but it's just understanding that we don't want to keep you there forever just because we've got you a little bit better. But that's what I kind of wanted to bring up as a bit of the caveat as well to, the plateauing, is understanding what's a positive plateau and what's just less of a sprint in the healing journey versus, what's an actual, like you're actually stuck in a rut and something needs to change or nothing's going to change. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point, like really, really good point, because absolutely, like there's different versions of what a plateau is for sure. And maybe a way, I'm just thinking if I had to define the difference between the two. No, you haven't. I think it's really important because there could be people who are listening are thinking like, well, I feel like I haven't made progress of late. and this is where I guess I was thinking maybe time is a really important marker here, because if you're, as you said, if you're working with a practitioner through chronic health issues, absolutely you're going to have like improvements, then a bit of a plateau or sometimes even a dip. But generally there's going to be, if you looked at say a year, it's going to be a trend up overall.
Exactly.
But
Upwards
I feel
trajectory.
like, yeah, I feel like with this sort of circumstance, these people who are truly stuck and plateaued out and are sort of have those progress blocks, it's usually a longer time frame. Like they're the sort of people that have been stuck there for like years. Would you agree? Like these sort of people have been really just like, I've been just stuck here. As you said, like micromanaging with all of their supplements and all of their things, but they're just stuck there.
Or micromanaging, and going back to your practitioner, I think, you know, I'm very okay for my clients to ask me, where are we at? What's the path forward? Or I'm feeling stuck right now, or I'm feeling like I haven't made progress in the last 4 weeks, and come to me with that, and I'll explain where I think they're at. You know what I mean? And I think it's really important with a practitioner-client relationship that and I hope I do this for my clients, but that you feel heard as a patient or as a client. So if you're going back to a practitioner every 6 weeks or every 4 weeks, and you're going in and they're just like, they're listening to you for 10 minutes and then they're just giving you a heap more supplements and sending you on your way, that's not working you through a health process, and that's not working you through a progression to get you from A to Z or A to whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, I agree. Like it could be that you're micromanaging at home, but yeah, you're generally stuck in a very similar situation with a very similar set of symptoms for a long period of time. And whether you're seeing a practitioner or micromanaging it yourself, you're not really on a path forward, would be what we're sort of trying to talk about today, before I totally complicated the living fuck.
No, you didn't. You didn't. No, you so didn't. No, I think it's super important, because I know there'd be some of our clients that would be listening who are these chronic cases, just like, hang on a second.
Hang on, I'm plateaued. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it literally came up for me this week. And also too, I think, you know, again, on the other side of it, when you are on a path forward and you're working with someone whose goal is to move you forward and treat the root cause, like we are very good at my little lens is my little overlooking lens, but you know, we're on the other side of this, you know, looking at this sort of with a bit of a telescope out. And so sometimes it's, you know, it is easy when you're on, you know, working with someone to think I'm not getting anywhere, but you actually can be. So sometimes it's good for your practitioner to come back to you and go, actually, no, I understand things have leveled out a little bit, but you're tolerating these foods more, or this is going on, or, you know, so I think, that's all I wanted to say, actually.
No, so true. Actually, I was just, before we move on to the next one, it actually reminded me saying that was one of my mentor students in the last week. We're having a conversation around this, but more from the flip side of being a newer practitioner and thinking every time working with a chronic case, like every time you see someone, it's like, okay, we make progress. We have to make progress. Okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? And it was really a discussion around, it is okay when you see this person next that you don't have to give them this whole next bannet of things. Like it's okay to spend perhaps the next month with them continuing to do what you're doing now, because there's still progress to be made there. Like you don't always have to be adding new things. And I think sometimes that's where even practitioners can get a little bit caught up in not allowing the time and the space that might be required as well.
And that time and space, you know, again, not to confuse it with going nowhere, but that time and that space in terms of that progression of moving forward is so important. Like I say that to some of my clients, I'm like, we're just going to sit here for 6 weeks, because behind the scenes, we've got like some really good core supplements in. We've got some really strong, solid food base in. We just need to let your microbiome or your nervous system or your hormones, whatever we're working with, sit in this space for the next 6 to 12 weeks and soak it up. Because behind the scenes, where you may not feel like we're changing anything, behind the scenes, your biochemistry is adapting, your microbes are changing. Like there's so much going on at that, you know, deeper level of healing. I keep using that word today. Sorry, guys. But deeper level of, you know, healing, basically, that you may not, you know, see outwardly. So anyway, so I know, I feel like we're going on a different tangent with the podcast, but yeah, definitely.
That's so unlike us.
I know. You can tell we don't pre-plan this. I did want to bring up, and I think we're going to get to it anyway, though. But as a practitioner, I think we are going to get to this, and this might be in the next section. But I did want to bring up too, like sometimes when you're not progressing, even if you are doing the work and doing all things, sometimes it is looking, you might have a really good functional test, you might have a really good practitioner and all the things, but sometimes there actually is more going on. So even, and that's, I think, really important to recognize as well. And it can be really frustrating for people to hear and even to acknowledge. But I think, sometimes I know with my clients, I'm just like, you know what? There's more going on here. Like this is not just a gut issue. This is a complex mental health issue, or this is a disordered eating pattern that's actually never been recognized, or is there something more sinister going on? I think we've got to get you off to see a specialist. So, sometimes too, it is even, recognizing that as a practitioner and then being able to have that conversation with your patients, not to freak them out, but just go, we need to bring someone else onto the team right now because, you're not getting the results I would expect you'd be getting at this stage of our journey.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And being clear cut about that. I literally said those exact words as you just said to clients, which is really important to be transparent. If you are feeling like there is this progress block, even as a practitioner, it's just like something I am missing something. There is more information I need here. And often I always say, like, start at that top of the funnel with the things that make sense first and the more common things that we see going on. But that's our job, to continue to dig deeper when like there's certain aspects that just aren't matching up. And then we do need to dig deeper into these like more or less common layers, essentially, or less common health elements that might be part of someone's complex history. So the second area, which flows nicely on from what we were just talking about, is focusing on supplements instead of addressing the bigger issue. We did just speak to this, and it is rife, unfortunately. I feel like the thing with supplements, and in a way I feel like this has come up in some of the past podcasts I've done with Christine and Rochelle with respect to stress. Supplements are like the easy answer. It's like, give me a pill, give me a powder, give me a potion, make me feel better. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to do anything except take this actual supplement, this thing, and that's going to make me all better. And it's very easy to get stuck in that trap. And this is where, again, like as you were using that term, micromanaging receipt, as far as like, if it's yourself, like continuing to purchase and buy supplements that you're having fed to you through social media, or you're Googling, or whatever you're doing, that you're going, oh, I'm getting reflux. Oh, I should use this. Or I'm a bit tired. Oh, I saw this helps someone else. And suddenly you're taking like 15 to 20 supplements, but still not getting anywhere. And the supplements are only one part of the pie. Like, yes, they're important, particularly when you have the right supplements for the right conditions, but they're only ever a certain piece of the pie or certain piece of the puzzle. You have to realize that there's other really important pieces of the puzzle, inclusive of diet and obviously lifestyle, which we will be getting into. But again, I can see you're like frothing.
I've just got... I don't even know if this is the podcast for it, because I think we should do a separate podcast on the supplement world at the moment. But I am just appalled at the wellness industry and their heavy marketing of supplements. I'm just going to say how I genuinely feel about the supplement market at the moment. We are as bad as the pharmaceutical market. And I say we because we all work in the wellness space, and obviously you and I, we are pro supplements and we understand, but exactly what you're saying, like they have their place as part of a therapeutic plan, but they are not the only thing that should be considered and the only thing that should be, prescribed. And I think we just live in this day and age where Instagram and social media have just played such a big role in the supplement and wellness space is just marketing a pill for every ill. And it's just as bad as what the we in the wellness space, I feel like we've sat back and shamed the pharmaceutical industry for, so many of the mistakes that they've made. But I just sit back and look at the space now. I'm like, it's exactly the same. Like, you're literally not talking to people about root cause treatment, root cause, therapeutic stuff. You guys aren't, there's so much money to be made in the supplement base and the supplement industry that it's just rife at the moment. And it's like, you're going through menopause, you need all of these supplements. You've got gut issues, you need all of these supplements. If you've got PCOS, you need all of these supplements. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but it's probably about 10% of what they actually need. The rest of it is lifestyle education and diet education and maybe some good functional testing so they can understand what's actually applicable to them. And yeah, I feel like this is a podcast that we may need to do. But again, it's just at the moment in the space that we're in, supplements are very heavily marketed as a pill for every ill and a magic bullet solution. And it's just not the case. And yeah, if you are just going to keep taking supplements, like it's that classic thing that you see from time to time on social media that I can't remember it, but it's along the lines of, you can't out supplement a bad diet. And you and just in the same way, you can't out supplement not exercising. You can't out supplement not dealing with your mental health issues and your emotional well-being. Like it's just, yeah. So I think I probably just will go on for an hour if you let me. So I'll leave it there. I'm not even going to get into TGA approvals and the people designing supplements at the moment that really should stay out of the fucking supplement world. But that's definitely a podcast for another day.
Yeah, it definitely is pretty rife at the moment. And I would definitely encourage when you're scrolling on your phone and you're seeing like stuff being served up to you as far as supplements to look at say it's something as Rissy was saying as far as like it's menopause and it's like these are the top blah 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 that you need for menopause. Also, I think important as always to see who is behind that, and then often what they're marketing comes back to their own product as well. And I know that we see this a lot in clinic too. There's a lot of really popular products at the moment that are in this kind of health trending space that I just feel like every second client I see is taking and has put themselves on. And again, it's that like just adding those supplements based on what they've seen served to them online and then equated that, well, I'm peri, I need this, or I'm a new mother, so I must need this. And then it just goes on and on and on. And the danger in this too, why we get so passionate about this is obviously beyond the fact that like it costs a lot for you, is that you can do yourself damage by over supplementing and taking so many supplements that it's actually a real burden on your digestion and your detox capacity. And that's a real fact. And we have seen that where over supplementation can be ironically part of the actual underlying cause. So it's a really big component. And the thing is, it is obviously a block in you making progress because again, you're not really dealing with the main reason as to why you're sick in the first place. You're just throwing money at it through these supplements that aren't dealing with the underlying cause. So
the expense is something else as well. Like I know we've covered this in other podcasts, but sometimes if you invested the amount of money that some people spend self-prescribing supplements to treat a pill for their ills, like if you just redirected that money into a functional test and a good practitioner, again, I'm not saying you have to come and see us. I'm just saying, like, have a think about it. If you're that person who has been feeling pretty average for the last 10 years and you're taking 12 supplements and you're running on adrenaline all the time and you're just really not feeling great, your return on investment is not there. So, do the math. Like I say that in a really nice way, but do the math. Like, save your pennies, go and again, it's that saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. So
yeah.
I also think too, just while we're on the supplement space, and just because it may be a while before I get on my pedestal and we do a podcast about this. But
let's get it all out now.
Let's get it all out. I think there's a lot of supplements out there at the moment that are not TGA approved. So be careful of your excipients list. If you're someone who's chronically unwell, what you're taking and putting into your body, as Jess said, matters. Because your liver and your digestive system has to deal with it, but quality also matters. And even though we're practitioners and we love our practitioner supplements, there's a fucking reason for that, because quality matters. We're not, where things are sourced. Like the thing about practitioner supplement companies, and yes, they are still supplement companies, and I stand by my previous statement that it is so heavily marketed that you need a pill for every ill. But in saying that, quality does matter with what you're taking. And if you're just buying the clickbait thing off Instagram that everyone said to take for your bloating and detox, pathways or something, there's a chance that you're either not taking something therapeutically dosed, so it could just be a waste, or it could be half full of shit. And and that I'm seeing a lot of that at the moment. I'm seeing some supplements that people will come in and show me, and I've got some over-the-counter brands and direct-to-consumer brands that I'm totally fucking cool with people taking, because I know that they're not bad quality supplements. Even though they're not practitioner, they're good. They're nutritionist designed or something like that, but there's a lot on the market, and I have a look what's in them. There's no therapeutic doses.
That's one of the big ones.
That's a big one. And I just look, and they're marketed at vulnerable, obviously we work with women, but vulnerable demographics. The fertility market is a big one. There's a couple of supplements on the market I'm not going to name and shame, but they're really marketed at, the fertility space, so more that IVF space. And I look at these supplements, and for $80, I'm sorry, that's fucking shit. It is though. It's something so basic, and it's marketed at these women that are already stressed because they're not feeling pregnant. And so it's just we'll create a problem in your mind. We'll make you feel like you're not doing something right when you're already probably, going through the fucking trenches. And we're going to sell you a supplement. And I look at the supplement and I'm like, that's going to do fuck all for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's where I get really frustrated with the supplement stuff as well. They're really capitalizing on people's insecurities, but also people's, want to do better for themselves, and they're not doing people any favors. So
for sure. No, I've seen it with the gut space supplements that are just really trendy and look pretty. And it's just the list of ingredients on there is just ridiculous, but people will look at it and go, I've heard about that. It's got this in it and that in it and that in it. It's but it's just a pinch or a little fart dose. It's it is not enough to give you what you need. It might look good because it's saying it's got all of these things, but the therapeutic dose is just so pitiful. It's really not going to give you much at all.
Fuck all.
And that is just a really common one. There's products that are marketed in that way because, of course, it's what's more lucrative. If you can have a product that says that it does everything, this is a gut and liver product, or this is a de-bloat and healthy liver product. So you put all of the terminology on there, but you look at it and you're like, what? This is ridiculous. But again, a trained eye will see that. But unfortunately for a lot of people, they'll see that on their socials and see how well it's marketed, and they'll see all of those clicky sort of words, those clickbait words, and they're like, I've got that. That's me. Oh my God, this is everything I need all in one bottle for a bargain price of $79.95.
Yeah, that's what you're going to say. It's just that standard price, $80, $79.99. We'll fix all your problems. Oh, it's wild.
Let's move on to the last point, which is in some ways I feel like one of the biggest areas as far as why people do plateau, truly plateau and come up against blocks. And this is really tricky. This is more to do with your relationship with your health, your belief systems, and even the relationships in your life, whether that's a relationship with yourself, your partner, the people that are in your life. And then even from a work perspective and the amount of stresses you have in your life. Would you like to speak to this one first?
Let me get back up on my pedestal. No, I think it's far out. I actually don't even know where to start, but it is probably one of the biggest roadblocks to health if you like your relationship with your own health and how far where you deserve you think you should be health wise is one thing, but where you actually believe you can be, those two areas are really big. And look, this is not our wheelhouse, you know what I mean? Like, I know we spend a lot of time, like, I feel like as nutritionists, we spend so much time in the counseling space, not intentionally, but just trying to hold space for people while they find their feet. And, you know, if they believe, you know, they've come from such a, you know, complex health state where they don't actually believe they can get better, trying to let you understand that you can get better or at least get to a good place. But you've got to believe you can get there, and you've got to want to get there. And that's a big one. And if you're not really honest with, or if you can't be really honest with yourself about that, then you're going to hit a roadblock with your health. Like I've had so many clients over the years, and they are happy to do all the testing, take all the supplements, but they generally don't believe they can be well. Or I don't even know. Again, I'm not a psychologist, and generally I recommend a lot of my clients go to psychologists, especially when they've got complex health stuff going on. But, you know, it's like, I don't even know how to say it. You can probably help me articulate this. But it's like, you don't really want to, I know it sounds horrible. Some people, I'm thinking there's a couple of different ways, like different groups of clients here, but there's ones that genuinely have been so beaten down with their health over the years and all the things that for them, it's very hard for them to see themselves as well. And that is really sad for us as practitioners. But I think that's where, you know, you've really got to go and invest the time and energy into the mindset side of this, and redefine your definition of wellness sometimes too, because I think wellness has been, and what wellness actually is, has been really skewed by social media. Wellness for you may look very different to wellness for someone else, but believing that you can be well, I think, is a big part of this. So for people that have come from a really complex health background where they actually just have been dealt a shit stick of, you know, horrible things, like there's so much in that mindset space that I think, you know, you've really got to like level up. And it's easier said than done. I know this, and I'm not saying it lightheartedly, like just level up and believe you can be healthy. I know how fucking hard it is. I know how hard it is. I've watched clients go through this, but when you shift that mindset and believe you can be well and redefine what that may look like for you, and please work with a psychologist, counselor, whoever is in your emotional field to do this, believe me, that is where you'll see some real changes. And until you want to work with that, you'll probably get stuck somewhere along the way. Then I think there is people that they like the idea of being well, but they don't want to do the fucking work to be there. So they're happy to spend a lot of money on testing, supplements, and all of that. Their idea of wellness is, I don't know, again, probably skewed by social media, but the amount of work that they actually are going to have to do to get there is something they don't want to do. So it's completely different to the category of people that I was just talking about before that have had really complex health stuff. These are the fucking workers, man. They have been through the trenches, dragging their bodies through the trenches with their health, and they are fighters. Like that's the first category of people. But, you know, your mindset gets damaged along the way. Your belief systems get damaged along the way because you just are literally fighting a shit uphill battle. Then there's people, you know, that their roadblock is the fact that they just don't want to do the fucking work. Okay. So you can take all the supplements in the world. You can do all the functional testing. I can give you all the information. I can lay you out the perfect plan, but I can't fucking do it for you. Okay. You have got to want to do it. And if for whatever reason you don't want to do it, you've got to go and work out why. Otherwise, again, you're going to hit a roadblock and you're going to be like, I have spent all this money on supplements, all this money on testing, and I just don't feel better. You got to do the work. It may take 12 months, 18 months, 2 years. It is a journey. You'll be on it probably for the rest of your life once you start investing in your health, because let's face it, we all are. But you got to want to do the work. And until you make that decision that you're going to choose breakfast over skipping breakfast, or you're going to choose getting up and going over for a walk over fucking hitting snooze, until you make those commitments to your health and make them habit and a daily practice, you are not going to get better. That's that.
Mic drop.
It's true,
No,
right?
Rissy, you've just
It
put that
is
so
true.
well. You really did. I really love how you define those two different categories because it's really important.
Yeah.
And I think they're wildly different, but what brings them
Wildly.
together at a base is those underlying belief systems.
Yeah.
And that's where the progress block comes in, because if you don't truly know what that core belief is that is becoming your block, like what it is that is stopping you, whether you're the person that doesn't want to do the work or you're the person that does want to do everything but innately believes that you aren't a well person,
Yeah.
then if you can't see outside the weeds of that, then how can you ever move forward? And that is a really, really hard pill to swallow. But once you recognize that and you do commit to doing the work on that, and usually that is going to involve someone, as Rissy was saying, that does have the tools to help you with that. Because Carissa and I can see this. We can see it coming 10 miles away,
Yep.
but we aren't trained with the skills like to know how to help you get past that. We may be able to like talk you through it, and once in a blue moon, yeah, we may be able to help someone through it, but technically that is not our job.
It's not
and
our
people
wheelhouse.
come to us for so much, but we are not trained to deal with your mental health, and this is actually a mental health issue. And it is actually really rife. Like, this is why I say before we started this is I believe it is the biggest progress block that I see when people plateau, because usually it's also tied back to why they're over supplementing and why they're stuck treating symptoms, because they have these deeper core belief systems about themselves. So it's really huge. And then you need to look outside of that again. And often these things will be more so perpetuating those belief systems is the relationships in your life. So again, whether it's like your partner or your family environment or your work environment, it's really common for people to put themselves in a place of stress within that, where they believe they're like, well, I can't because my work's too demanding. I can't because my partner won't support me. I can't because I have to look after my family. It's this like reason that you can tell yourself, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And really what it's about is like, you don't believe that you should prioritize yourself, and you don't believe that you're worth it, which is pretty intense thing to say. And again, we're not counselors, but I truly believe that it comes down to self-worth. Like, there's something within you, and I don't know what that is. Like, that's not my job, but there's something in you that is telling a story that you're not worthy of feeling well. And once you unpack that and truly understand that, then that's where I think the progress block lifts. But fuck, that work's hard. Like, that's really, really hard.
It is the big work, and it is like, again, it's not our wheelhouse, but you and I have both been in private practice for so long that I think we see this. Like, I've had clients over the years where I am working on their health, and they make strides, man, but it's not until it sounds horrible to say, it's not until that marriage breaks up and they feel free that their health takes on that next level. You know what I mean? Or they leave that shitty work situation that was just holding them down and driving that constant stress. Like, you've really got to look at the other areas in your life. And I don't want to, that could be holding you back or just keeping you subdued as well. And again, we're totally and entirely responsible for our own happiness and our own, how we react, all of those things. But if you are in a situation that is just dampening and deadening your health, that you've got to look at that as a progress block. And I'm not saying everyone needs to rush out and leave a relationship and leave your job and kick your kids out of home if they're the problem. That's not what I'm saying. Because I know some of my clients are like, mate, when these guys go, I'll be good. Like, still got two 25-year-olds living at home. But, I think it has to be something that's said, because 100%, like, I've gone through this in my own life where, you know, even just with a big, you know, relationship breakup, and it was a massive catalyst for, you know, change in my life, but I had to make that decision. And I've seen it happen with clients. I've seen it happen with, like, you know, clients with jobs, and just it's just, you know, they're fighting so, and they genuinely are, they genuinely want to be well, but it's not until they make that big life decision that all of a sudden it's like their wings are free. You know what I mean? It's like, I can actually fly now. I'm like, fuck yeah, bitch, you can soar. Like, you know what I mean? So it is a big one. It is the hardest one. It is not our wheelhouse to talk to you about this in a private consultation setting and tell you to make the big life decisions. But, you know, sometimes they have to be made, and they at least have to be addressed. So, you know, and that's where, again, psychologists, counselors, all the things, whatever you need to bring that next element and layer into your health it's something you can't skip around it and dance around it, because it'll stay there until you fucking deal with it. So
bluntly. Do you know what I'd love to say, actually, just before we finish this up? If you are a counsellor or a psychologist that likes working in this area, reach out to us, because we're always looking for people in this particular area with relationships, who love working with clients with relationships around food and health. Or perhaps you're someone listening who has been through this and spoken to a really good counselor or a psychologist. Like, just hit us up in our DMs, because we've got people that we refer to, but I think they're far and few between. So I just think
so busy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you have anyone that comes to mind, please hit us up. I feel like this has been one of those episodes that's just been a combination of, like, quite heavy mic drops, soapboxes.
Standard JCN episode.
Just standard. It's pretty standard.
Standard episode.
But I do truly hope that listeners that you have been able to take some pearls of wisdom from this, and maybe there's been some things we've spoken about that have made you squirm. And if it has made you squirm a little bit, that's probably a good thing, because hopefully that can hold up a little bit of a mirror and have you think about maybe some things that you need to consider changing or working on. And just with respect to, of course, this is all a work in progress. But if you need any help or any guidance, or anything that we can do to help, just please reach out to us, whether that's to the clinic directly or DM. And as always, obviously, we love when you guys share the episode too. So if you found this really helpful, make sure you give it a good old share. Thank you very much for listening. We really appreciate it, as always. And if you could leave us, just take a second just to head and leave us a review. That's amazing, because that helps people find us in this sea of podcasts that is now out there. The JCN Clinic podcast continues to hold pretty strong, but your time just to go and help leave a review is much appreciated, to help get us in front of other people's eyes and ears. But thank you. Have an amazing day, evening, weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.